Hello again. In our last video, we studied zero slope and undefined slope. Now we're going to move from finding the slope of a line to writing the equation of a line. And we begin with the most familiar form of a linear equation. That is y equals mx plus b. So this is called slope-intercept form. And in this equation, we have m, which equals the slope, and lowercase b, which equals the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Since every point on the y-axis has an x-coordinate of 0, the y-intercept is 0b. Here's the first example I want to look at. Example 1, identify the slope and the y-intercept of y equals 3x plus 5. Now, compare this equation with y equals mx plus b. So, when we compare the two equations, we can essentially say that m is equal to 3 and that b is equal to positive 5. So therefore, the slope would be 3 and the y-intercept would be 0, comma 5. Example number 2. Example number 2 is identify the slope and y-intercept of y equals negative 2x plus 7. So here we have the equation y equals negative 2x plus 7. So we can identify the slope. The slope in this case is m equals negative 2, and b is equal to positive 7. Therefore, the line has a negative slope and crosses the y-axis at 0, comma 7. Because the slope is negative, the line falls from left to right. So the line falls from left to right, okay? So a negative slope, again, tends this way, and a positive slope tends this way, okay? Example number 3. This question deals with hidden coefficients. Identify the slope and the y-intercept of y equals x minus 4. Now, there is no visible number in this equation. So we have y equals x minus 4. But notice we have no visible number there. So you have to remember this, that even though there's no visible number written in front of x, x is equal to 1x. Therefore, the slope in this case would be positive 1, and b would be negative 4. We can also write that as 0, comma, negative 4. So the y-intercept is 0, comma, negative 4. Let's continue. Example number 4, write the equation of a line with slope equals 4 and y-intercept equals 0, parentheses 0, comma, negative 3. So first of all, I want to start with y equals mx plus b because we have the slope and we have the y-intercept. I want to start with that and I want to substitute the data that I now have. The data that I now has says that the slope or the coefficient is 4 and b is equal to -3. So m is equal to 4 and b is equal to -3. So we have essentially all that we need to finish this equation. So write the equation of a line with the slope of 4 and y-intercept of 0, -3. This is the final answer. This is the equation of the line. Let's continue. Example number 5. I'll leave that on this. Example number 5. Write equation of a line with slope m equals -3/2 and y-intercept of 0, 6. So again, I want to write y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form. And I want to substitute the information that I have. We have the slope, we're told, is -3/2. And then we also have b, which is 6. So in completing this, we have y equals -3/2 x plus 6. So this is our final equation. Y equals -3/2 x plus 6. Notice that fractional slopes are completely acceptable. Okay, the slope of -3/2 is completely acceptable. And that means that the line falls 3 units for every 2 units that it moves to the right. Because remember, rise over run. So in this case, it's a negative. So it's going to go down 3 units every time. Okay, so horizontally, with the change in x, the delta x is changing 2 units, and then the delta y, or the change in y, is going down 3 units. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause the video and try this here. All right, so the question says, write equations of a line with slope write equations of a line with slope equals 5 and y-intercept of 0, -8. So first of all, we want to write the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And we want to substitute this information in here. We know that the slope is going to be m equals 5. And we know that b is -8. Using what we know about this, we substitute the information in there. Coefficient of 5x minus 8. Therefore, y is equal to 5x minus 8. Let's continue. Here's example number 6. Example number 6 says a line crosses the y-axis at 0, 4 and rises 2 units for every 1 unit it moves to the right. Write the equation. So first of all, if a line crosses the y-axis at 0, 4 and rises 2 units for every 1 unit that it moves to the right, what does that mean? The phrase rises 2 units for every 1 unit to the right tells us that the slope, or m, is 2 over 1 or 2, right? And remember I said fractional slopes are acceptable because these two are not mutually exclusive. So m is equal to 2, and the y-intercept, or b, is 4. Therefore, y is equal to 2x plus 4. And that is your answer. Example number 7. Consider the line y equals 2x plus 1. Does the point 37 lie on the line? Does the point 37 lie on the line? So first of all, we want to substitute x equals 3 and 7 equals, y equals 7. So we have y equals 2x plus 1. And notice I'm just going to substitute this information into this function. So we have x equals 3, y equals 7. Y equals 7, 2, 3, plus 1. Computing it, we have 7, 6, 1. We have 7 equals 7. So this is a true statement. This is a true statement. Therefore, the point 37 lies on the line. Now, let's test whether or not 410 is on the line. Let's test whether or not 410 is on this line. So y equals 2x plus 1, substituting 10, 2, 4 plus 1, 10 equals 8 plus 1, 10 equals 9. This is a false statement. Since this is a false statement, then it is basically stated that this point does not exist on this line, this function, okay? A common error in students' reasoning, a student sees y equals negative 4x plus 9 and says, okay, the slope is 9, the intercept is negative 4. Now, is the student right or wrong? The student is wrong. Why? Because the student reversed the slope and the y-intercept. Remember the order. The order is y equals mx plus b. So the student should have wrote y equals negative 4x plus 9 so that the slope would be negative 4 and b would be positive 9. That is the correct way to compute that. Now, suppose if this is to enhance your reasoning. Suppose if you're given lines, these two lines, you're given y equals 2x plus 5 and y equals 2x minus 7. Without graphing these, how would you explain how the lines are related? Well, the first thing that stands out is the slope. Both lines have the same slope. M equals 2. Okay, so both lines have the same slope. Therefore, they rise at the same rate. But they have different y-intercepts. Notice this one is 0, 5, and this one is 0, negative 7. So the lines have the same steepness, but they cross the y-axis at different points. Therefore, the lines would be considered as parallel. So they have the same slope, and different y-intercepts. Therefore, they are parallel lines. So that is how line A would behave, and that is essentially how line B would behave. They just cross the y-axis at different locations. Let's continue. Compare y equals 3x plus 2 and y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5. What relationship do you notice between the slopes? Well, the slopes are, you have this slope, which is m equals 3. And then you have this slope, which is m equals negative 1/3. What stands out? If you said that the slopes are negative reciprocals, you are absolutely correct. Their product is, in other words, their product, if we took their product, which would be 3 times negative 1/3, we would end up with negative 1. So the product of these two slopes would generate a negative 1. So lines with slopes that are negative reciprocals are called perpendicular lines. Meaning lines that intersect. And we'll study this more deeply in a later part. But the final review is this. The slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. So you have to remember these key ideas. First, the coefficient of x is the slope. Second, the constant term is the y-intercept. And third, if you know the slope and y-intercept, you can write the equation immediately. And finally, the equation of a line tells us both where the line begins on the x-axis and how it changes as x changes. So in the next video, we will learn how to write the equation of a line when we are given a point and a slope, as you can see here. Thank you, and thank you for watching.